Hi, Therapy Together families. Welcome to the week 3 overview. This week for Therapy Together, you are going to be working on holds and grasps as the upper limb domain, and we are going to talk more about how the upper limb and the hand develops in a child with unilateral or one-sided cerebral palsy. So here we go. Okay, so in week 2, we introduced some of these words and showed you the hierarchy that comes from all of the work done around the assisting hand assessment and what we know about how hand function and upper limb function develops for a child with UCP. And so just to remind you of what these words mean and give you an example using pictures is our focus for this week. So in the top left, you see holds. And the main thing to know about holds is that holds is different than grasp. So holds is when you place something in the hand and then the child is able to maintain hold of that item. Compared to grasp is when you show them an item, they can actively open, close their hand around it, and hold onto it. So you can hold just by placing an item in the hand, or they can hold after they maintain active grasp. So hold is one of the easier items on the hierarchy. Making contact with the object. And so if your child isn't quite to the point where they're grasping items, or maybe they aren't even initiating using their arm, this is a great one to work on, but it really is just what it says. It's bringing the hand or the arm towards an object and making contact with it. The next one you see is stabilizes by weight. And kids can stabilize by weight by placing their hand on top of an item, like on a surface. They can also stabilize in their arm or tuck under their arm to stabilize. But this is a way to engage the upper limb without necessarily using grasp to keep an item from moving around. Moves upper arm, think shoulder movement. And that's all of the things that you did in week 2. So big movements away from the body that involve the shoulder. Moves fingers, really thinking about can they open or extend the hand and then close the hand as well. So finger movement, being open and close. Moving the forearm, the movement that's typically difficult is supination, which is where the palm is up. And so many kids will keep their hand in what we call pronation, where the palm is down. And later on in the program, we're going to really work on trying to get supination if that's a possibility. Right, other words that we talked about last week, stabilizes by grasp. So we talked about stabilizes by weight, which is just putting the arm on top of it or tucking it in. This time they're actively grasping and then they're keeping the item still so that they can manipulate with the other hand. Reaches, again, is moving the arm out away from the body. It usually involves straightening the arm or extending the elbow, but it can be reaching to the front, reaching to the side, reaching up overhead, but moving the arm and the hand away from the body. Releasing, after they have hold of something or after they've grasped something, are they able to let go of it? And there's different stages of refining grasp patterns, and that is coming later in the program as well. Grasp is the active movement of opening the hand, closing around the item, and holding onto it. Varied grasp refers to different grasp patterns. So the most common one is what we call a gross grasp. We use the whole hand to grab onto something. But as kids develop, what we want them to do is to be able to separate this side or the pinky side of the hand from the thumb side of the hand. So eventually the pinky side of the hand is going to come down and they'll do a more refined grasp. This is called a tripod or a 3-jaw chuck grasp, or it can be called different things, but it uses these 3 digits to grasp items. Or you may have heard of a pincer grasp or a tip pinch, where they just use the thumb and the index finger to grasp. So that's what it's referring to when it talks about varied grasp types. So not just using the whole hand, but they have some flexibility in how they approach different items to be able to grasp and hold on to them. Bimanual manipulation just means using 2 hands to do the task. So here you see a little pull string toy. One hand is grasping and stabilizing, the other one is pulling to be able to complete the task that the child wants to be able to do. This is what we'll focus on in week 8 of the program. Okay, so that's just an overview of those different words So you can hear them one more time. So when your therapist is talking to you, and kind of as you think about the skills your child is able to do, you just have some words and vocabulary around how to describe what you're seeing. Okay, and this week we are working on holds and grasps. So a level A is working on exploring and pre-grasp skills. A lot of the time this is kind of a sensory play activity. So they're pushing things, they're pulling things. It may even be their shirt that they're kind of scrunching and moving around, but they're just doing that open close movement, but nothing is really staying in the hand at this point, but they're working towards the ability to grasp. In level A, you can also work on holding. So if you place that item in the hand, can they maintain hold of it? If they're able to do that, you can start to ask them to imitate you in moving the item around, and can they still maintain hold while they move their arm away and out away from their body. Okay, for a level B, you're working on grasping from an easy position. And what that means is that you are going to hold the toy and you're going to ask them to grasp it. You're going to do all the work around how the toy is oriented. So if you know your child is going to grasp using this pattern, you're going to orient the toy for them so that when you're going to bring it in really close, all they have to do is close around it and they've grasped. If that's where they're at, you're going to work on that again and again and again, just to reinforce that they can grasp and they can have success with it. You can also work on precision of grasping, or grasping from a person with different orientations or different sizes of items. So if they're getting really good at this, then you can start to change the orientation a little bit and see if they can match it and still grasp. So can they change how their forearm or their arm is positioned and to allow them to still make contact and grasp the item. If they're really good at grasp and you're ready to move on to something that's a little bit more difficult, try different sizes and weights of toys and items that challenge them to use different grasp patterns to be able to hold on to those particular toys. All right, and then a level C, you are working on grasping from the table or at a distance with different orientations. So grasping from an easy position, grasping from another person will always be the easier option. At a level C, you want to place the item on a surface and ask them to pick it up from that table surface without you helping with the orientation or stabilizing it for them. You can also ask them to grasp with the arm out and away from the body. So hold it a little bit, don't bring it right to them where they just have to come here, but bring it out away from the body to challenge them a little bit. And then you can also start to work on separating the two sides of the hand. So things like, can you point and push like a button on a toy? Can you give me a thumbs up if they're a little bit older? And then can we have those smaller items where we're starting to work on the isolation of the fingers on the thumb side of the hand? If they're doing all those things, the hardest task is to catch something that's moving. So either catch it in the air or like roll a ball where they're having to catch. So not only are they having to plan the grasp, but they're having to think about how fast is it coming to me? Where is it going to go? I have to get my hand in the right place to be able to catch something that's moving. Okay, so those are our levels for this week. Here are some videos that you can watch on ideas for working on holds and grasp for both preschoolers and infants and toddlers. And then, as always, there is the activity log at the end so you can mark your progress over time. Thanks so much, and I hope you have a great week 3.